Alright, listen up, kids. If there's one thing that Daddy J knows, it's slug shotguns. Deadly accurate, pulverizing at 5 to 10 meters with an overly generous reserve. And for me, it all started with the granddaddy slug spewer, the Chaperone. Hallowed be its name. For me, this shotgun will go down in the Destiny history books as the single greatest meat-grinding gun that Bungie has ever blessed us with. But one simply wasn't enough. Bungie saw what we were doing with it and they were just like, holy shit, divert all resources, everybody on staff. We need a legendary variant worth the player's time. And believe you me, they delivered. You see, as parents, we want our children to surpass us, to go further, to hit harder, to become more than we ever dreamed they could be. And that logic is what gave birth to the only thing that will sit in my energy slot until this game dies and its servers are empty. I present to you, first in, last out. It hits for arc damage, and one might think that since it's an energy weapon, it can't hit as hard, but that's where you're wrong. But if you're really considering trying to tame a stallion like this, you're gonna need some mods. More specifically, shotgun reserves and shotgun targeting. Its aim assist is balanced by slug standards when you take into account its overall stopping power. Aim assist sits at a 27, nowhere near as potent as its predecessor, the Chaperone, but fair. The reason for the offset in stats when compared to the Chaperone is because one is an exotic with a set perk roll and the other can drop at random, becoming either the hunter or the hunted, depending on how RNG treats you. One of the best ones for my build specifically that I've come across is this bad boy right here. Hammer Forged, Assault Mag, Outlaw, and a tasteful choice between Demolitionist and Opening Shot, respectively. This gun is a monster, but it goes way deeper than just that. Bungie was far too generous with first in's perk rotation. Some of them suck, sure, every gun has a few lousy perks, but we're looking at things like Auto Load, Slide Shot, Outlaw, Surrounded, Opening Shot, even Vorpal Weapon. The last one right there gives it the potential to out-DPS the Chaperone, maybe even without Mask of Bakris. Maybe. Honestly, I'm not 100% certain on that one yet because I haven't done any real testing, so don't at me in the comments all like, actually, Jay, you know, because I said maybe. To be honest, I'm not 100% certain. It's just a theory and I'm not going to respond. But we got bigger things to talk about right now. Get a load of this. I mean, are you seeing this? Alright, so let's just pretend the sword kill didn't happen. What I'm trying to get at here is that first in can handle anything that you throw at it. It doesn't matter if it's a red bar, or if it's a yellow bar, or even a champion. This thing's about a chunk. The thing about slug shotguns is that there aren't very many to choose from, and an even smaller amount of them have much to offer the player aside from heavy crit damage, and that's great and all, don't get me wrong, but first in stands out among the rest because of its perk pool, as it has one of the absolute best, like I mentioned earlier. It's a versatile gun. It can fit in any loadout for almost any scenario. It can sit side by side with any power weapon in the game and still feel like a necessary damage dealer. It's one of those things you want to whip out when you're neck deep in mobs or when you gotta give a boss a physics lecture with slugs. As far as legendary slug shotguns go, it is the apex. It's extremely precise and requires a steady hand with little aim assist to back it up. It excels with a naturally high range stat that you can push to an 89 with hammer forged rifling and accurized rounds. Stability is its worst fault, but even then we can compensate for that with aim assist buffs. Depending on the parts that it drops with, you can nullify the stability issue altogether. Now, reload speed is next. It's one of those things that tends to be rather lackluster on shotguns of any kind. Not always, but more often than not. One of the big selling points for first in is Outlaw. Critical kills reward the player with max reload time. You can pair that with something like Opening Shot or a Vorpal Weapon for the highest amount of unbuffed damage. Impact sits at a 70, and with Assault Mag it climbs to a 70 in RPM as well, making that and Vorpal Weapon one of the highest DPS rolls that you can get for it right now, and it shows. It's still a part of the world pool, so you can get it from essentially anything for the most part. Assault Mag is an extremely valuable perk, one that you absolutely want if you're chasing damage and you're not just some overly obsessive virtual gun collector like myself. Now, I know what everybody's thinking. You're telling me things that I already know, and I am aware of that, but that's because it wouldn't be the first time that you guys have yelled at me in the comments because I left something out, so I'm not missing any beats this time. That being said, since we're going with the whole CQC thing, there's a few different roles you could try to farm for if you want to get the most out of this gun. gun. The first one that I want to talk about is Slide Shot and Surrounded with the Surrounded spec. Now, we all know how Slide Shot works, but it pairs abnormally well with Surrounded because of the damage boost, so slap a Surrounded spec on there and grab the right exotic, aka Mask of Bakris if you're part of the Hunter Master race, and you are golden. Close range encounters are about speed and precision. Sliding is a movement mechanic, and with the right perk, it'll reload part of the magazine so you can keep firing longer. Surrounded buffs the damage per slug, and the Surrounded spec increases that even more, potentially lowering the amount of slugs you need to jam into a single enemy just to make them die. It's a really fun role that allows for creative playstyles and interesting combat encounters. Next up is the role that I'm using in this video, the one I would recommend for anybody making use of aspects and fragments. Outlaw and Demolitionist is an extremely potent combination, mostly because of the grenade regeneration. If you're using Whisper of Shards and Fissures, this is a go-to drop. Demo restores a significant amount of grenade energy with every kill, and Outlaw is there to decrease downtime between reloads. If you're going on about a grenade build, this is definitely a go-to role. With high enough stats, this can turn a 60-second recharge time into 10 seconds, maybe even less. Ultimately, that's what makes this gun so versatile. Its perk pool allows for a variety of different play styles and stat builds with the proper mods slotted. Anything from close-range crit stacking or point-blank mobility builds that rely heavily on ability regeneration. It fits well in any loadout with any subclass for any scenario and almost any type of combat encounter. It's a legendary damage-dealing machine. It's one of a kind. You can even run auto-load and Vorpal with Chaperone and your kinetic and hot swap guns between every other shot or so to eliminate any real downtime during damage phases in Deepstone. I mean, yeah, there's other slugs in the game that work in a similar fashion, but about the only thing this gun can't do is kiss you goodnight and make you a sandwich. I don't know, I guess it's all just personal preference. Some people love it, some people hate it, but for me, this is God tier. Definitely my favorite energy slug in the entire game. Also, yes, I did manage to get Mask of Bakris at the end of this sector. That means you can expect to see loads of worthless videos about that in the next week or so too. But that about sums up today's video. You guys know the drill. I'll be in my cell if anybody needs me.